Welcome, everyone, to Get Yours Presents the podcast. This is episode 3 of the all new Get Yours Presents, formerly Get Yours Radio. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this channel with your friends and family. During this pandemic that we've been going through, this gentleman that I have today was capable of entertaining us and giving us lessons through his history lesson shows. That's pretty much how I came across and found out about him. And ever since then, I've been tuned in and locked in. I try to catch almost every episode that he has. It's very entertaining, very enlightening. And I always learn something new, especially when it comes to hip hop. So today I have none other than the journalist Sin-Seer. Welcome, my brother.
Appreciate it. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. I know we've interacted throughout the pandemic, and I'm glad we finally got to sit and do this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's my pleasure, man. Once again, I want to say thank you as well for, when MF Doom passed away, you reached out, we connected, Ahmed with you. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I just want to get that out the way before we continue, man. I appreciate it. That was a great show, by the way. So let's go. Let's get into this. Before we get into everything that you're doing currently, if you could do me a favor,
yes,
I would like you to paint a picture of what it was like for you growing up as a kid when it comes to hip hop. Where were you from? Where did you grow up as? What was the scene like? Give us a little, try to paint that picture for us.
No doubt. Well, I'm from the Midwest, a little town called Anderson, Indiana, about 30 minutes from Indianapolis. Growing up, I always jacked my dad's records. He was into OJ's, Isley Brothers. So there was always music in the family. The older I got into rock really at an early age. So the Kiss, the heavy metal scene, because if you can remember, it wasn't really a lot of hip hop. If you go to the record store, there was like a section and you had to make that last, until the next year. So it really wasn't a lot of hip hop. I really wasn't exposed to hip hop like, say, a New York was, but we got it slowly through things like MTV. So while I'm doing the heavy metal thing, rock, of course, R&B, soul, just getting exposed to like the Run DMC, the Rock Box may have been like that first exposure as far as visual for me. I had an older sister who kept me in the loop of hip hop with her 12 inches and the Roxanne's, UTFOs. So I would dibble and dabble in her stash. But it got serious around 88 for me, as I started to get my own little bit of money. My first purchase was Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock.
Nice.
Takes Two. And from then I'm off to the races as far as collecting. And, then it wasn't collecting. It was just making sure you had the latest release, the newest magazine. And that was pretty much it. My first concert my parents took me to was in 1988. It was Bismarcky, EU, EPMD, and Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. And I've been hooked ever since. So I would say really getting my feet dirty had to be around 87, 88.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, so where you were living at, I know you said you were a little bit not as caught up as New York was at the time. Now, as far as the hip hop elements, was there any graffiti going on? Was the breakdance scene out there?
Absolutely.
At that time?
Yeah. We got, like the movies, we got them pretty much the same time New York did, Breaking, Beat Street. So there was always, we always wanted to be like the movies, New York. And so, yeah, that element slowly, was here. We got it late, but, there was always some kid who was, in the loop who would bring those tapes from New York or, that element, graffiti. Always tried to break dance, couldn't master it, but we all tried, whether we tried to rap.
We all did, yeah.
whether we were scribbling, spray painting, it may have not been the master, what we consider somebody as a great graffiti artist, but we all tried to spray paint, break dance, rap until we found something that, we felt comfortable with. So
that
element was
that we
yeah,
thought we were what we thought we were good at, right?
absolutely. I mean, we got the magazines, we had newsstands, so we wasn't like too far behind,
Right.
but we definitely in the loop of this new thing called hip hop.
Cool. So around what time would you say you caught an interest in journalism? How far, let's say you said you went to your first concert was around
88.
88. So let's say
Yeah.
between 88, around what time did you first catch that bug?
I wouldn't say until maybe 94.
Okay.
It was hard to get into that world unless the Source magazine was tight knit with their writers, and it just wasn't an outlet like it is now for me and you to do what we do.
Mhm.
So I did it as like a hobby. So I would come into concerts with the big camcorder and just do it for personal pleasure. I still have those tapes, but I would
Really?
go in, and if they would allow me to record, my first interview was like with the Artifacts when they first came out.
Nice.
So from then on, it started to snowball, and until I could get my version out here through social media. I never wrote for any magazines, or I had my own blog at one point, but this visual podcast era we're in, took it to the next level.
Right. Now, was there what in particular made you want to go into journal? I mean, out of all the things, you could have been an MC, a dancer, writer, so many different things. Why journalism?
And just being a fan, like sitting back and watching Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, like thinking, man, that's the ultimate job, to talk to your favorite artist. So just earlier on with the Donnie Simpsons on V8,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, Video Soul, Dr. Dre, Ed Lover, Fab Five Freddy, big influence. So those guys, I always looked up to, and like I said, just being a big fan, wanting to get inside their heads, that just drove me to want to pursue journalism.
That's cool. I mean, one of the reasons why I asked is also I'm trying to see if we're kind of on the same page when it comes to that, right? Because again, being around it for so many years and always wanted to be a part of it, right? Always wanted to be a part of hip hop culture. And it's like, how exactly? Like, yeah, I'm a fan. I love the music. I love the dancing, but I want to sort of be more involved, like a little bit more. And I just want to give a quick shout out to DJ Webb. You're probably familiar with him. He worked on the Monster Island project with
Okay.
them, with MF Doom. So he goes by X-Ray, the Mindbender.
Okay.
I went to his house one day with another friend of ours, and this is around, I want to say maybe like 2008, somewhere around that time. So this is when there was more of online radio, right? They weren't really calling it podcasts or anything like that yet. And he had a show that he was doing, and it was out of his house, right? But at the time, you had to have all kind of equipment. You couldn't do like what we do now. You had to have all this equipment to be able to hook to a server, and way too complicated for me. But I was so amazed by that. I was like, wow, you can actually sit here and conduct a radio show, online. And that's where I really got the bug. And doing my little research and trying to find out, I came across, I don't know if you heard of, or you might have even used it, Blog Talk Radio.
No, I haven't.
You never heard of that? Okay, so this was around that time. There was a website called Blog Talk Radio that gave you the tools you needed to kind of do an online radio show. Right. They gave you a phone number. You were able to connect and have interviews. And that was in 2008, 2009. And I've kind of been doing it ever since. Took a couple of breaks here and there, but same thing as you. Same reasoning. Right. Never really worked in journalism, like you said, as far as any publications. Right. But I feel so blessed because I've had the privilege to interview a lot of people that I never thought I would be able to as a
Right,
fan.
right.
So, this is definitely a cool lane. And like you said, with the advancement of the technology now, it's like endless.
It is, man, because I think back in the day, man, you had to go through so much red tape to get to the artist. Now it's as simple as DMing them
Mm-hmm.
and, they're with it, you know what I mean? So, like I said, there was just so much, you had to talk to the record label, the manager, it may not even get back to the artist that you wanted to interview them. So nowadays is much easier and, much more interesting. Like you said, you don't have to go through all of the tools
Yeah,
to and you're broadcasting way further than probably like you were back in the day. So like it's just incredible, and I urge everybody to take advantage of the this uh stuff that we have going on now, social
yeah,
media.
definitely, definitely. So I know you've been doing a lot of your shows or interviews on Instagram Live, for example. Um, is that the only place you do it? Is just on Instagram Live or any other
Yeah,
type? Yeah,
and then I transfer them over to YouTube.
right.
So I'll save them, chop them up into segments, because sometimes I don't think the viewer wants to digest an hour long interview. So I'll chop it up into 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just so they can see what it's about if they want to tap in. It might be one thing that they want to learn, but they don't want to sit through an hour long to get to the meat and potatoes of it.
Right, right.
So, yeah, mostly, like I said, I still write a blog, but I also do YouTube and Instagram.
Nice, nice. And the blog is, where can people check out the blog?
At my page, at the journalist Sin-Seer, just the link in bio, and it's linked on as soon as you hit the link tree, so you'll find the blog there as well.
Okay. And something else I wanted to ask you when it comes to music. Uh,
Yes.
if you had to pick one particular artist, whether it's a group that you always find yourself going back and listening to, whether it's because they just amp you up, or sometimes you might be feeling down or not inspired, and you always put this one particular artist or group, who would that be?
I would have to say, when you asked this question, the group that immediately popped in my mind was probably Tribe Called Quest.
Nice, nice, really. Okay.
It would be a toss up between De La and Tribe, but I'm gonna say Tribe. I go to probably the most.
Okay. Any one particular album you like the best?
Low End Theory is
Yeah.
it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, that one hit different when it came out, man.
Yeah, man, I can still remember, being froze at my aunt's house when Check the Rhyme came on Rap City. So, I mean, certain things, like I'm sure you were there when albums dropped. It's just a feeling that goes with
Mm-hmm.
that time. You know what I mean? Like if somebody heard Low End Theory 20 years later for the first time, they just wouldn't get.
They wouldn't get it.
They wouldn't get it. So, a lot of what I do just goes back to a certain time in my life. That's why most of my interviews don't cater too much with 2000 and on. I can't really remember too many moments, but I can definitely remember 1989 to 2000. You know what I mean? Like it was just something about that time, 88 to 2000, that I could tell you what I did. I could tell you where I was at, if a certain song came on.
That's interesting you said that. I don't think I really thought about it in that way. From 2000, it's kind of a blur.
It is.
It's
It
kind of
is.
that. It's like everything was kind of mishmashed
If I
together.
asked you what you did summer 2005, you probably couldn't tell me.
No, I no,
But if
not
I
at all.
said you do the summer of 1995,
I remember 95. I remember all of the 90s, 80s, like it was
exactly.
yesterday. That's
Right.
very interesting. Yeah, that's man. I wonder why. And why do you think that is? You think because around the time when we
I
started
just
rolling into the 2000s and everything started changing music wise and the way we consume things.
absolutely, because I mean, there was no longer you could watch just a Tribe Called Quest video at a certain time. Like it was all about Cristal, Bentleys, platinum watches going into the 2000s. So I think the video shows started catering toward, if you didn't have a club scene, if you wasn't popping bottles, we're not playing your video. You know what I mean? So, you know, the visuals go along with the music just as much. So going into the 2000s, I would say that's when music started to become less interesting. You know, I've never stopped listening, but you know, it's nothing like, yeah, you know when it's started.
Yeah, we just come from a different time. Like, for example, I remember exactly going, and I don't know why this particular album just popped into my mind, but going to buy Jay-Z's The Blueprint, right?
2000.
Which was about 2000. But the reason why I remember that one is because of the events that happened, right? We had like 9/11 was around that time.
Exactly.
But the thing was too that I still was going to record stores to buy music. And I remember I was walking to Tower Records, and that's where I got that one from. So I want to say from that point back, we don't have that anymore. You know, we don't have that like, oh, I remember trying to go around looking for the Source magazine because such and such was on the cover.
Exactly.
And walking to a newsstand and that one didn't have it and trying to find, you know, so you're right. There's a lot that changed with that.
Yeah, I would say the last memory that me and you could probably relate to was probably the 50 Cent buzz.
Well, you know, the mix CD era.
Right.
Towards the end of the mix CD era.
Right. So that was probably the last of the whole, you know, getting excited about a certain release. I couldn't tell you a release I've been excited about in very.
What about the last try? I mean, you know, I know they put it out online and we stayed up to 12 o'clock waiting for it to drop, but what about the last Tribe album?
I wasn't mad at it at all. You know what I mean? It came nowhere, but I think they stuck to the blueprint. And, you know, I haven't to this day heard anything bad. You know, I think it was, you know, right on par with what we'd expect from them in the 2000s. You know what I mean? Such a long gap in between the Love Movement and the last album, but I wasn't mad at it at all. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I think I enjoyed it maybe even more than the actual album was the fact that they said they're coming out with one and waiting for it to come out and purchasing, you know, going online and hitting that button. Right. I enjoyed that more than anything. I haven't had that feeling in a long time.
Yeah, we don't have those feelings of the buzz, you know, nothing's exclusive now. You hear something and you can have it. You know, remember when your man had something and you didn't?
Yeah.
Go, you know, everybody can have whatever, and it's just lost, you know, that appeal to it. So, you know, there's no longer that Nas buzz of waiting. You know, when Illmatic came out, you just couldn't wait. You read the source, you seen the review, you know, there's just so much missing that, you know.
Now, I want to talk about some of the interviews that you've done, but you just mentioned the Source and you know, I used to have stacks and stacks of the Source magazine, and you would go to the quotables, see the new ones that came out. Now, I know you just had Dave Mays on,
right?
Which I caught most of that interview. Talk a little bit about that interview, and I just want to put in perspective because we're coming from a time of the Source magazine, like we were just saying,
right?
What is he doing now to try and keep up with the times? You know,
he's got a new podcast, and it's separated into segments, so it's not just him. So he'll have 3 different segments. I know you heard of the guy named Funny Marco,
right?
Goes in the stores and plays practical jokes on people,
right?
So stuff like that. He'll have you know, that guy on one night, other things on different nights. So, you know, it's a program with different lanes to it, other than just the same, you know, say Drink Champs. You know what? You know what they're gonna do. He's got something that's different, and you know, it sounds very interesting. He's also working on a documentary where he breaks down all the unsigned hypes. So that's coming out. That's gonna be extremely dope.
That's okay. I caught a little bit about that, and that's what I was interested in everything, but I was trying to figure out how he was, you know, what the angle was when it came to that. That's a great concept.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he's just got like 5 concepts right now, but if he really wants to go off of the unsigned hype, just imagine the fat tape breakdown, or the reviews, having different reviewers come in and talk about how they got something wrong, because you know they were notorious for getting
Yeah.
reviews wrong.
Okay.
So interviewing those people and them going back, going, man, I really screwed that one up.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna
So,
be a good one. I'm looking forward to that one.
yeah, he's also doing something, a documentary for Larry Hoover, gang member, leader from Chicago. So
Right.
who's up, but he's with their family, doing a documentary on him as we speak. So sounds like he's got
Wow.
coming up. And I was kind of wondering, like, with all these podcasts, how are you different, or what, you know what I mean? But it sounds like he's got an angle on why people should tune in. So I'm
Right.
definitely looking forward to it.
Nice. So during the pandemic, access to getting interviews, was it a little easier with the pandemic, especially like during the lockdown that everybody wasn't really moving around?
It was crazy. Nobody said no to me. You know what I mean? Now people are like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me get back to you. But
Yeah.
it contributes to people being locked in the house, stir crazy. They knew where they were at. They knew what they were doing. It wasn't no, hey, I'm not going to be here. Everybody was locked in the house. So it was a way to communicate and build relationships and keep people entertained. I had an interview because I was locked in for about 2 to 3 months. So it was like I had an interview every night.
Nice.
Every night I would DM, 10 people and get maybe 2 responses, but that was all I needed to DM another 10 people. And, those people would be like, maybe next week. So I would just put the puzzle together, but it was an amazing response. And I've got to talk to people that I would have never thought I would be able to talk to. And I probably would have never been able to if it wasn't for the pandemic.
Right. But at the same time, I'm sure that, even though it might be a little harder now with everybody moving around a little bit, but you were able to kind of build up a nice resume.
Absolutely.
So when you send that request to someone and you're like, hey, look at everybody I had on.
And I use that as leverage.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of play on their feelings a little bit, like, hey, your homeboy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely leverage. It's definitely a great resume. If nothing else happens after today, I've been very blessed to have talked to over 150 of the artists that I grew up listening to. And, nobody's ever been like, how long is this interview going to be? Or, it's just always been a great response. And the angle I come at, I don't come at an angle where we talk about beef or why didn't you do a song with, I come at something that they would like to talk about, just go over their career and let them know they're appreciated.
That's we're on the same page, man. We're on the same page. So out of all the ones that you've done so far, is there any one particular one that stands out the most, or that you enjoyed? I mean, I know they were all great.
Right.
Any one particular one that stands out the most that you would say, damn, that was a really good one?
I would probably say Dress from Black Sheep.
Okay.
Because even though we want to ask, hey, what happened between you and Mr. Long?
Yeah.
I didn't want to ask, but he just kind of was, putting his head on my shoulder, man, and just giving up the goods, like without asking. And instead of doing an hour, we went 2 hours.
Wow.
And, it was just one of them interviews that was pretty flawless as far as somebody who didn't hold back, you know what I mean? So I think that one really stands out the most as, memorable interview.
Right. Now I want to ask you, how was it with interviewing the real Rick Ross?
Oh, wow. Yeah. He's an interesting character. You know what I mean? I think he just really loves to tell his story, you know what I mean? And I really don't know how to take it sometimes because he still is, mentioning names from the past.
Okay. You know I mean? Yeah.
Kind of like, maybe those people don't want you to talk about.
Yeah. Should I put this out? Maybe I don't know if I should put this out there, right? Like
So
Oh
he's just
man.
really caught up into his heyday, as he should be. You know, the guy was selling supposedly $1 million a day worth of product. You know what I mean? Like, that's no easy feat. I've never done it, never tried, but you know, but he's it was definitely interesting. Yeah, yeah, to say the least.
Okay. Now let's just change up a little bit. I always say every time I watch your shows, even like right now, I always see you have all kind of collectibles. Uh, when did you start collecting? Or when did it be? Because I know, like you said earlier, you would buy certain things, but it wasn't collecting. It was just what we
Right,
did. It was just something we did, right?
right.
When did you say, like, man, like I really need to just hold on to these things? Do you remember
I,
though?
you know what? I wasn't rich and I wasn't poor, but when you went to the record store back in the day, there was always free items. You know what I mean? They always had the promotional items that you can grab for free. So whether I had enough to buy that cassette, that CD, I was always leaving with something. So that's where I think it started in the early 90s. I remember my very first poster was walking into the local record store, and America's Most Wanted poster was up
Oh,
on
wow.
that. And the owner gave it to me.
Really?
So it was like, you know, at the time, it wasn't considered a classic, but Ice Cube was my favorite artist at the time. So it just goes from going to the record stores and being a pack rat, going to concerts, ripping down the flyers, just, you know, for your personal, you know, I never thought that we would have Instagram so I could show everything off. This was
Mhm.
all for me. And then you come across and you go, hey, this would be nice to show. And you get the feedback like, wow, that's rare. But for me, it started in the early 90s. And, you know, I've always collected magazines. I never threw anything away. I still got, you know, ripped posters that need to go in the trash, but I refuse to throw,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
I just
get.
find myself, you know, it would be almost like a hoarder if you came here, but I refuse to throw anything away. So
No,
I was
don't.
3 years of it just collecting, and I mean, just grabbing things for my personal interest. And next thing you know, it's considered collecting. You know what I mean?
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Did you ever go on Destroy show, show off your gems?
Yeah, man.
Did
He
it?
reached out. Yeah, I was
Oh, I didn't catch
first
that one.
season, and I was probably the first 15 people on the show early on.
Oh wow, I didn't catch. I got it. Okay, I was gonna
Yeah,
say if you didn't, you should.
yeah, yeah. And even when he first reached out, I was kind of like, you know, like I just didn't want to go through the hassle of putting things presentable. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, could I could I really do an hour on this show? And I really did a whole hour
yeah.
of show. It probably could have went far longer, but yeah, I definitely was one of the early people to jump that show off.
That's cool, man. That's cool. I didn't know that, man. I missed that one. I've caught up quite a few, and he has a great show, man. Great show. Um, I see you have the super villain on. I have to talk about that. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know, it's actually coming up, right? October 31st is going to be a
Right.
year
And
since.
a lot of people will give you flack and they'll go, no, it was December 31st. And if they really did their research, they would know it was October 31st. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But
No, 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 no. This is a conversation, man.
yeah,
But you're absolutely right because December 31st is when it went public, I guess.
right.
But October 31st, we're coming on a year already, which is crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been a year. Um, from your perspective, when you first saw that and saw the news of MF Doom passing away, what went through your mind? What did you think? How did you feel?
When I first initially read the statement, and I think his wife may have put it out on his page, I was like, this is a joke. This can't be real. There's no way. But it truly hurt. You know what I mean? I can't say that for a lot of artists who have passed away, but this one really, because, you know, I always wanted to see him win. And, you know what I mean? Like, I really, he would just be so secluded. We never really knew what went on. We would see clips of him floating on sea, or he just always kept you intrigued. But I truly wanted to see the guy win. I never got a chance to see him live. That's one of my regrets. But it was surreal, and people would inbox me maybe a few days later talking about it could be a sick joke. I was like, nah, you just don't play with nothing like that, especially in a pandemic. Like, I just, knew it was real, and it definitely hurt, and it's definitely, a major loss.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking, man. The first, December 31st, I go on Instagram, and the first post I see was from Ninth Wonder and saying, that MF Doom passed away. And I was just like, what the hell is this, And I scrolled and scrolled and saw a couple of more. And then I just was like, all right, I got to get off of here and start making some phone calls.
Right.
And yeah, so it was a big shock for all of us as well. But you had a great show. I want to, once again, we talked about in the beginning of this, you had a great show where you had Pete Nice on.
Ernie Panacoli.
Ernie. I know you had Ahmed on as well.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
I appreciate you connecting dots as well.
Yeah, no, I thank you for even, because I just took a chance.
Right.
I was like, man, let me send him a message. I don't know if he's going to see it or not. Maybe he does, hopefully.
Great.
Because
we needed those deeper stories, you know what I mean? And only somebody like Ahmed could tell certain stories, Yeah, we heard the Pete Nice, the MC Search, we've heard most of those stories at some point, but it goes a lot deeper to, being in Long Island and Long Beach.
Yeah, Long Island. Yep.
Yeah.
Long Island. Yeah, no, definitely. And that was one of the main reasons why I tried to reach out to you, because I'm like, man, people need to know more about, like, I get it. Everybody's so intrigued by the character of MF Doom, right? That whole MF Doom persona.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing. It is. And how it is. Most people, that's what they want to know about, like the Doom, the mask. But I'm always like, why don't you, learn a little bit about how he became that. Learn about the person, the character that ended up becoming that. And then you would even appreciate it even more. You know what I mean? So that was...
We didn't get enough of that Zev Love X. You know what I mean? We got a glimpse for all of us who were there during the time. But I wish we could have got some more KMD, during that.
Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, so, once again, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you took the time to do that.
Just, you reaching out and wanting to, talk to me is a plus. So I'm definitely honored. Just, be on the lookout for, a lot of great more things. I feel like, life's a progression, and I'm trying to keep pushing every day to do something bigger and better than I did the previous day. So just look out for more interviews, more, I wanted to get out for that unveiling, the Doom Street. I got a last minute notice, so I couldn't make it.
That's kind of my fault too, man. I apologize.
All good.
They didn't have, they had a date, but it wasn't 100% locked in. They were trying to get a couple of other pieces to be able to attend. So it was kind of open-ended, and literally was like that week where it was like a go, which is when I think I hit you. I reached out and I was like, hey, if you can, so that's, I apologize for that. But so just let everybody know where they can find you, let them know your Instagram, because I know your blog also, let them know where that's at.
Yeah. I am the journalist Sin-Seer. That's Sinseer. You can find my history lessons as well as my blog. Just tap the link in the bio, and I guarantee watching some of these history lessons, there will be some gems that you never knew. it's mind blowing to, talk to these legends and learn something that I never knew. So definitely be on the lookout for many, many more history lessons coming up.
5%?
No,
Okay, okay. I was just always curious from the name.
the name, I'm glad you asked. It's from Nas's character in Belly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He just reminded me of myself, just that smooth character. You know the movie,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
deep the rah-rah cat, Nas was just that smooth, logical cat. So that's where I jacked the name from. And the
Gotcha.
name like that because there's so many Sin-Seers on Instagram that I had to change the name spelling. So
Okay,
that's
okay.
the background behind the name.
I was just curious, you know what I mean? Because I'm like sincere, general. You know, sometimes the way you carry yourself, I'm like, you might be 5%.
Right.
All right,
Hey,
that's cool.
you, man, and I'm very proud of what you're doing as well.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, thank you for taking the time. Get Yours Presents the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Tell your friends and family to tell a friend and another friend and maybe another family member. Tune in. We're going to have a lot of good shows. And not only shows, besides the podcast, you'll get to also see, the Get Yours Posse and our journey. We have a lot of things, a lot of projects coming up in the near future. So that will all be on the YouTube channel as well as on the website. So once again, thank you. Sin-Seer, much appreciated.
Appreciate you, bro.
Enjoy. Continue with those interviews, man. I got you locked in.
All right. Appreciate you.